Hello. Today we will talk about. Today I would like to touch on a subject that um, I have experienced firsthand. This one, uh, narcissism. It is very, um very much an experience that I've had for a lot of for around 7 years, which was the amount of time I basically um, was married to one. And um, you may ask, and narcissism, um, and how do you know, about that, buddy? Well, 7 years in a marriage will give you a little knowledge, all right? And um, again, this is something that um, very much is something that I think can is not very known, you know. Um, in the world, it's not very known to narcissism. You know, as much as some other kind of descriptions of behavior. You know, like I think attention deficit disorder, ADD. Um, bipolar disorder. I think these have become more known than narcissism. Narcissism is less known, and therefore I think more um, um, it's therefore more easier for the people with narcissism to, with with it's easier for them to, to victimize others. Uh, so I had a relationship with someone um, who I would say who is very high on the narcissistic scale. Um, you know, definitely a narcissist, and these persons, they're more like, and this person was very, you know, was very at the beginning when you meet someone like this, a narcissist, they have something. They act very kindly and loving, and and they seem to express lovely words about you, and they seem to they say they love you, and they care about you, and and basically they they express this for a reason, because narcissists see people as, they don't see persons as such. They see them as objects, or more correctly said, they see them as sources, as a source. So I wasn't being seen as a person. I was being seen as a source, someone who could provide something. And you know, that something could have been, I could provide some kind of benefit to the person, and so um, in some case that benefit could be, some kind of citizenship papers, a green card, money, you know, sometimes even just um, a house where they can you know a place where they can a roof, sometimes a roof, shelter and food, um, someone to take care of their someone to someone to take care of them in that sense. So you might think, oh wow, I met this nice person and they really like me for who I am. And then in reality, you understand that this person is just playing you. They're just saying all the right things, mimicking. They have no empathy at all for you. They only see what they can get from you, and that's why they they um they choose you. That's why they choose certain types of people. Um, um, because uh, they don't they know who they can do this with. Um, they know what type of people, and they immediately recognize those kind of people that, okay, I can definitely go ahead and put one on this guy because he's very nice and empathetic, and he's very very loving, and he's you know generally a nice guy. um, and so I think people call these people sometimes uh, people like me get called empaths. People who were very in touch um, with empathy and helping others. And anyways, I digress. So basically, what happens is when they find someone like this who has something they would like, you know, um, they go ahead and pretend that they have empathy for you, and they have you know feelings for you and whatnot. And in this is what is called love bombing. Love bombing is this um, is this stage in where a narcissist will groom their supply. Um, they'll make them you 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 will you will feel like you are the most loved person in the world, and you found the soulmate of your life, and 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 that you hit the lottery with this person who expresses their love for you, and 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 this and that and here and there. And then come to think uh come to find out, all this was a show. This is a love bombing stage where they they pretend they love you because they know because they want something from you. And so as they want something from you, and as someone that wants something from you, they give you they give you something. And what is that something? They give you they give you supposedly they give you they give you whatever you want. And if that's love, they give you they mimic the love. They don't actually give it because they have no empathy. They mimic love in all the ways that someone can mimic love. You know, their narcissists are Hollywood class actors. They can Oscar winning actors. They they can make you think you are the most loved person in the world and their soulmate and whatnot. And and that they're so grateful for having met you, you know. And you come to find out later that none of that's true. That all they were doing was playing you. So they come they they come at you like this when they know, when they find someone who is a source of something they want, and is empathetic towards them. So they come at you with whatever you want, and sometimes and they will come at you with love and sex, if and that is something that also, you know is something very that changes stuff a lot. Once you you start you start having intercourse with someone, your decisions get a little bit cloudy in that sense. Your decision making skills can become a little bit more biased. So, anyways, they come at you with whatever you want, and mostly love, sex, intercourse, etc., etc., etc. You know, and they come at you with this, with the pretense that they love you. You know, obviously not the case, and since you don't know how to read the red flags, and sometimes it's hard to read the red flags, um, but most of the time there are some flags, there are red flags in there. So most narcissists, they go and when they have a relationship, they start very, when they have a relationship and they're in the love bombing stage, the relationship tends to advance very quickly, super fast. And this is because the narcissist when they're in a love bombing stage, they know they can't keep up that act for very long. After a while, they become a little bit tired of acting. Of acting as very loving and nice, and then they, because they don't really love you. They don't. They just see you as a source of money, of of you know of citizenship papers, etc., etc., etc. So then, um, that's why they tend to move fast when they're in the love bombing stage, because they know they only have so much time they can put on the act, and they can hook you, and they can get you to buy their act, so to speak, to believe them, to fall in, to get you to love them. So what happened was I did also find I fell in I fell hook, line, and sinker for the narcissist that I was married to, and I got and once I was involved, and once they had they had me. In other words, I was emotionally invested in the relationship. I was emotionally invested, and once I got emotionally invested, that's it. Like a switch was turned, was activated. Click, and hasta luego, nice loving person. Hola, very the true person, the narcissist, the true um the true personality comes, you know, and that's when you understand that, you start asking yourself. In my case, I was asking myself, well, what happened? Well, what does this change? Why does this person suddenly change? And then, you start seeing their issues. You start realizing that they, you start realizing that it's okay if you have a bad day. Everybody has bad days. Everybody has, um, you know, mm, bad, uh, bad streaks. Bad has ruts. In other words, so you understand this, and sometimes that happens, and then the person goes back to their baseline. Their their let's say their everyday today behavior, which you are used to. But with a narcissist, you see them and they go back. You see them change, and then you say, "Wait, hold on. 1 week, bad, uh, 2, 3, okay, maybe a month. Some people get depressed, whatnot, and they have these problems, and they get mad at people, and then 2 months, and then 6 months, and then a year, and then you're like, hold on a second, and then maybe like 3 years that this person is still, uh, acting acting very damaging to you know. So you learn this, and you see the patterns after a while, and then you realize, okay, this person definitely has some issues. And that's when you start like, and that's one of another red flags when you have to Google sometimes people's behavior. That's a red flag. Like, why does this person, what makes this person suddenly say, I love you, and then within 5 minutes they go ahead and do a 360, and they say, I hate you, and this and that, and here and there, and and then you start Googling this stuff, and then you realize, and you start putting the pieces together, start connecting the dots, with the behavior, and you start asking questions. I don't know, and and you find out, well, you have a relationship with someone who is a narcissist, and this is very, and this is something that is like an issue with a lot of relationships. um many relationships have narcissists in them to certain degrees. Everybody has a little bit of narcissism in them. A little bit of ego. Most people, have a little bit of ego narcissism because it's a scale. and 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 the scale, it goes from like most people who have a little bit, and then you have your high level narcissists who uh, full blown narcissists who check all the boxes, for narcissism. So um, this is something that that is something that's important, that I think to to understand, mostly because once you have a relationship with a narcissist, it's very difficult to get them to change, because at the root cause of narcissism is child trauma. um, it's a wounded inner child, I would think. Most people have have inner child issues and traumas, and comprehensibly, everybody has their issues, you know and it appears every once in a while, and you can work on this inner child healing. You can do this. I have another video where I talk about inner child healing, and it's very and it's and and this helps you to improve your life. And it appears that narcissists have a very wounded child, a very, very, very problematic childhood, a very traumatic childhood. Again, this is what basically is the core wound, so to speak. This is what causes all these behaviors in a narcissist, to see people as objects instead of as a human being, and to treat them like such, and to see them as sources, and to see them and to see everything with with the mentality of, what can I get out of this person, um, this is something, uh, you know this is something that I think about, uh, and yeah, how is it, how does it, and and how is it that I know about that narcissist, um, oh, my experience, my relationship, 7 year long relationship with one. So I know that narcissists, they have this trauma within them, and most people think that narcissism is something that's not, um it's such it's such a damaging set of behaviors, that most people, when they find themselves in a narcissistic relationship with someone like this, the recommended advice from most experts on the field is to, the most the recommended advice from most experts in the field, um, uh, you know is to go no contact, is to actually just, basically saying, this person is so messed up that don't even try to, it's not even worth it to try to help them. Their inner child wound is so deep, it's so profound, their inner child is so hurt, that it's not even worth it. Try to help them, you know and the best thing you can do is cut your losses and get out as quick as you can. you know and that's what a lot of people, and that's something that, um, a lot of a lot of um, experts in the subject say, hey, let's that's the best thing, no contact. uh, and that's kind of hard to do, especially when you have a relationship with one. If you have children with a narcissist, it's very hard. um, um, so sometimes, if you have children with a narcissist, you'll see this person for the rest of your life, pretty much. So, or at least for 18 years at least. So it's very important to know how to go ahead and get ahead start on this damaging, very sinister um, set of behaviors that are exhibited, by some persons, by some people. How can you say that you have to learn? How can I learn? You could say about narcissism and this stuff. Well, you would have to look into books. You have to study this narcissism. You can look at YouTube videos on how to recognize narcissists, red flags about narcissists, because the truth is, there are no narcissists that are so good. You know, they can they can do a love bombing stage of years. They could go 1, 2, 3 years in love bombing, and they'll have you on their hook. They'll have you they'll have you eating out of their hand, so to speak, and you'll never know it. But then one day, once they get whatever they wanted, once they get that money, once they get that house, once they get that citizenship papers, that green card, it's like, uh, sayonara, my friend. You know, see you later. And so there goes everything, and 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 they look how to, and then they move on to the next target, to the next source, you know, because they got whatever they wanted from you, and once they get what they want from you, they don't love you. They only saw you as a means to an end. So once they get whatever like they wanted from you, hey, it's okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and it's on to the next source, and they will go on like this, from person to person, source to source, looking how to get whatever it is they want from other people, you know, and that's something they and that's something that narcissists that's their modus operandi. That's the way they operate in life. Unfortunately, because they can't have really a good relationship. They can have a relationship with uh, a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship, um, interdependent with someone. Where there's two people who who are healthy by themselves, who are happy by themselves, who are complete by themselves, and who can support each other in different in a healthy way. In a truthful, honorable way. That's a healthy interdependent relationship. But narcissists, it's all about them. It's me, me, me. It's me first, myself second, and I last. And that's how narcissists are. And you get uh, narcissists will always try to will always try to get their needs met. Will always want to get their needs met always. And you will pick up on this if well, this is one of their traits. So hopefully you won't uh, you'll be able to identify this, and once you see this, you can identify them for what it is. And then it's always about them. And then if you say no to them, that's like one of the things that you might have an option. um, that's one of the things that they don't respect boundaries. You put boundaries in narcissists, they don't respect that. They're habitual boundaries steppers, violators. You tell them, oh, well, this and that, and they'll go ahead and I don't care. And then they violate the boundaries. Because they don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about your boundaries. They don't care about your feelings. All they want is money, mm, green card. You know, it's all about them and what they can get out of you. And they never loved you. You know, either you were just, that person that they presented in the love bombing stage doesn't exist. It was an act. They were an acting, and they were a very good actor. You know, and so it's tough sometimes to understand that you build your that you had a marriage that was fake. You know, because the person that you were married to really didn't love you. Happens. You know. Uh, Fortunately, so it's important, as someone who has suffered from this kind of abuse, you know to as someone, I would like to warn others, to the dangers of this kind of behaviors. And it's very hard. It's very hard to it's very hard sometimes, you know to deal with these to deal with these kind of behaviors from someone. Very tiring also. Very, very tiring. Everything is, um everything is a fight. Everything is is a conflict. And when they get stuff, when they get what they want, the narcissist, they'll feel kind of guilty about, about having um uh of having um of having basically uh uh tricked you, of having basically con you for whatever time you were in a relationship. They'll feel a little bit guilty, apparently. They have some they might feel a little bit guilty. And some narcissists have a bit of empathy, have a bit of guilt, you know um and so they'll feel a little bit guilty, and maybe they want to leave, but they feel kind of a little bit guilty, and they just can't, leave you, because they would feel too guilty. It's something on their conscience. um so they might do a you know a reverse discard. um you know and what's a reverse, and um basically a reverse discard is when a narcissist. So you might ask, how do you know that somebody doesn't reverse discard when they get what they want? What makes them not leave? Because sometimes I ask myself, in my relationship, I think the narcissist didn't get what they wanted, you know, um, namely but they did do kind of like a reverse discard, you know. Anyways, a reverse discard is when someone basically, instead of discarding you, they act in such a way that would make you discard them. And in this case, it was like, uh, and in this case, you know, when they can finally understand sometimes also that they can't get what you want, you know, like in my case, they understood they couldn't get what I want, because what they wanted was like um a green card. And then I was like, no, that's not gonna happen. And then they knew that I knew that they were a narcissist, and they were just with me for the green card. And so they felt kind of guilty a little bit. They felt just a tad bit of guilt. And so for them to, and they wanted to leave once they find out that they can't get what they want, when they, whatever, they, once they get it, they'll leave you. But you know sometimes, once they get it or they don't get it, and they have um, you know and they have some kind of, then that's when they'll go ahead and leave you. you know and when they have a little bit of guilt, they'll 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 they'll, they'll do a reverse discard. And in my case, they couldn't get what they wanted. Okay, so, and they had a little bit of guilt. So what happened, you might ask? So since they had a little bit of guilt, they didn't want to, and they knew that I could see right through them. They felt kind of guilty if they would have just walked off and left. Oh, no, I don't know. Sometimes, how can someone with such behaviors feel that guilty if they whatever for whatever they did? Boggles me, anyways. They do have some kind of guilt, anyways, sometimes. So they just did a reverse discard because of their guilt. And what's a reverse discard? That's when the person, instead of just discarding you and leaving the relationship because of their guilt, they go ahead and they act in such a way that they can get discarded by you. So They'll do things on purpose to push your buttons. They'll insult you left and right, day and um uh you know, day and night. And for what reason? You know? And for what? So they can leave. So that you can go ahead and discard them. And so it'll get to such a point that that um they they do this on purpose, because they feel guilty about leaving. So they'll go ahead and make your life in such a way that it's untenable, to have a continual relationship with them for your health, mentally and emotionally and everything. So you're just like, okay, that's it, forget about it. And then and then and they, in such a way that you, for your mental health and emotional health, you can't take it anymore. So you're like, okay, listen, that's it. um, um, perhaps perhaps you thought you had some kind of a chance to heal them. um, you know very tough, very difficult. It's a tall order, actually, to do that. you know but they of course have other plans. Once they find out that they're not getting what they want, you know uh that's it. They go ahead and either get out, or if they're a little bit guilted by their whole fraud and con on you, they go ahead and they'll play the reverse discard card. They'll go ahead and act in such a way that that you can't do. The only way, uh, for you to have any kind of peace is just by telling them, listen, I feel this is not working out, and I feel it's best for you you know to follow your own way, to go your own way. And in reality, trying to make you feel guilty and that's what they wanted in reality. That's what they wanted, for you to go ahead and just tell them to leave. They just didn't want to leave on their own because they felt guilty about what they did to you, of having used you for whatever, for their purposes. And in some cases, they don't get what they want, but once they understand they're not getting what they want, they feel guilty and they want to leave. you know but they don't want to feel even more guilty by leaving you, so they do a reverse discard. And that's when they act in such a horrible way on purpose to get you even more horrible than they would always be, because you know them. you know you know the person very well. When they have their patterns very well. So when becomes obvious they do it on purpose, it's you can tell when they want you to end it. So